The arena sun rose high over the city of Corythia. Bright beams of light danced on the polished stone floor. In the stands, thousands of aliens gathered to watch the day's main event. Banners of blue and silver waved in the warm breeze. At the center of the arena stood Alira, the warrior princess of the Therian clans. She wore shining armor that fit her like a second skin. Her long silver hair framed fierce green eyes. Alira's boots clicked loudly as she paced, waiting. From the shaded tunnel at the edge of the arena came a human. He moved with calm confidence. His name was Captain Harris of Earth's United Space Force. He wore simple combat gear in earth tones. A thin coat of dust and sweat covered him from earlier battles. Though he was smaller than many aliens, his broad shoulders and steady gaze showed he was not afraid. Alira raised her voice. "Human," she called out, her accent crisp and firm. "You cannot last a minute against me. I am the greatest fighter in this system." The crowd roared at her words. Many had heard tales of Alira's prowess. They expected the human to fall in mere seconds. Harris stepped forward, his boots making soft thuds on the stone. He looked at Alira without fear. A faint smile touched his lips. The audience fell silent, curious how this human would answer. He lifted his chin and spoke in clear, steady tones. "I do not doubt your skill, Princess, but I serve Earth now. I will defend my people and prove our strength." At these words, a wave of surprise rolled through the crowd. Some aliens whispered, "He dares to speak so boldly." Others gripped their seats, eager to see the clash. Alira's green eyes narrowed. She studied Harris from head to toe. "Brave words," she said, "but words do not win fights." She held her weapon high. It was a long, curved blade that glowed faintly at the edge. Alira's hand did not shake. Harris did not reach for his own blade yet. He stood still, waiting for the signal. The air felt electric. Even the guards at the edge of the arena watched with keen interest. Then the announcer's horn sounded. A deep note echoed off the walls. Alira and Harris moved into position. The princess's boots dug into the stone. Harris tensed his muscles, ready to dodge or strike. For a moment, time seemed to slow. The two warriors faced each other, one human and one alien princess. High above, the sun cast long shadows. Dust motes floated in beams of light. The crowd held its breath. In that instant, both fighters sensed that this fight would be different. It was more than a test of skill. It was a meeting of two worlds. And in that silent pause before action, Alira and Harris both felt a spark of respect and challenge. Then, with a silent nod to each other, they sprang into motion. The arena exploded with cheering as the first clash of human and alien began. After their first clash, both fighters stepped back. Dust swirled around their feet. Alira's breathing was steady. Harris wiped sweat from his brow. The arena stood silent for a heartbeat before the crowd began to murmur. Backstage, Alira had heard stories of Earth's strong warriors. She believed humans lacked skill compared to alien fighters. Now she saw Harris move with grace. Her pride stung. She wondered what secrets this human held. Harris did not see Alira's doubt. He focused on his own plan. On Earth, soldiers trained for many battles. Harris learned to use his mind as well as his strength. He remembered simple drills. Watch, wait, then act. Alira lifted her curved blade again. She studied Harris's stance. He held his arms loose, ready to move. His eyes never left her. She imagined his thoughts. Find opening, strike hard. Alira knew her next strike must be fast. The horn sounded again. Alira charged first. She spun with her blade in a wide arc. Harris backstepped. He felt the wind of her strike brush past his shoulder. His heart raced. He thought, that was close. Harris dropped low and swept his leg at Alira's feet. She jumped over the sweep with a single leap. The crowd gasped. Alira landed lightly and pivoted. She lowered her blade for a quick strike. Harris rolled forward, narrowly avoiding the point. Stone chips flew as blade hit ground. From high in the seats, aliens shouted encouragement. Some cheered for the princess. Others began to shout for the brave human. The heat of the sun made the painted banners flutter faster. Harris shaded his eyes for a moment. Elira used that chance to step in. She feinted left, then darted right with a thrust. Harris blocked with his forearm guard. The impact stung. He felt the force shake his arm, but he held firm. He saw Elira's green eyes widen with surprise. He was stronger than she expected. Heart pounding, Harris slid back and reached inside his belt. He pulled out a small smoke grenade. In one smooth motion, he tossed it at Elira's feet. It hit the ground and hissed, sending up thick gray smoke. The arena filled with haze. For a second, no one could see. Elira inhaled a lungful of smoke. She struggled to keep her footing. Harris moved by touch, not sight. He recalled Earth training. In darkness, trust your senses. Coughing, Elira waved her hand to clear a path. She felt Harris's presence to her left. She swung her blade blindly. It cut the air. Harris smelled her breath, heard the rustle of her armor. He ducked and tapped her shoulder gently. The smoke cleared quickly. Elira whirled around. She found Harris standing a short distance away, hand raised in respect. Neither held a weapon now. The crowd fell silent again, amazed at the clever move. Elira lowered her blade and bowed her head slightly. Harris gave a small nod in return. In that moment, they shared a silent respect. Both knew they had tested each other's strength and wit. The crowd erupted in cheers for the human's daring and the princess's skill. Neither fighter smiled, but both felt a new sense of honor as the battle continued. The crowd's cheers died down as Elira and Harris took their places again. The sun glinted off Elira's armor. Harris wiped dust from his face and adjusted his grip on the hilt of his short blade. Both felt the weight of the moment. Neither wanted to give ground first. Elira spoke quietly so only Harris could hear. You fight like a seasoned warrior, human. Few can match my speed. Harris nodded once. He did not reply. He knew talk could break focus. Elira circled him slowly, blade held low. Harris mirrored her movements. He remembered the faces of his comrades back on Earth. He fought not just for himself, but for all who stood with him. Elira feinted a high strike. Harris reacted, stepping back. She followed with a low sweeping kick. Harris jumped over it, landing lightly. Elira's eyes flashed with respect. She pressed on, launching a series of quick jabs. Harris blocked each with solid parries. Harris spotted an opening. He dropped his weight and lunged low, aiming for Elira's leg. She twisted midair, avoiding the strike. Harris landed and spun behind her. He aimed to tap her back to claim a point. At the last second, Elira threw him off with a powerful elbow to his shoulder. The force hurled Harris forward. He tumbled on the hard stone. Pain shot through his arm. He winced but pushed himself up. Elira stood over him, blade pointed down. The crowd thought the match was over. But Harris gripped his blade and turned, meeting her gaze. He held his ground. His eyes spoke of determination. Elira paused. Then, with a small grin, she raised her blade in salute. She moved in again, faster this time. Harris met her charge. Their blades clashed with sparks of energy. Each strike rang out like thunder. Harris felt sweat drip into his eyes. He blinked and saw Elira's fierce face through the blur. He thought, I must stay calm. He centered his breathing and focused on her rhythm. When Elira swung left, he sidestepped. When she thrust forward, he blocked and countered with a quick jab. His blade tapped her side, not strong enough to wound, but enough to score a hit. Elira hissed and spun away. She reset her stance. Harris breathed heavily, but felt his arm steady again. He saw respect in the princess's eyes. She admired his skill, but would not yield. Elira charged again, this time with a spinning slash. Harris ducked under her leg and rolled behind. He aimed a gentle strike at her back. Elira blocked by twisting her blade at the last moment. The two fighters came chest to chest, blades crossed. They pushed against each other, testing strength. The crowd held its breath. Neither warrior wanted to back down. Harris felt the heat of Elira's armor near his chest. She felt the strength in his arms. Then both relaxed slightly. Elira pulled back and lowered her blade. Harris did the same. They stood apart, breathing hard, blades still in hand. Elira spoke again, her voice softer. "You are not like the others," she said. "Earth's might is in your heart." Harris nodded. He replied, "I fight for more than victory. I fight for unity." The arena erupted in applause. Aliens and humans alike cheered their battle. In that moment, the line between challenger and champion blurred. Elira and Harris glanced at each other, knowing the true fight had just begun. The announcer's horn sounded again. Dust rose into the air as Elira and Harris readied themselves. Both fighters felt the weight of each past moment. The sun now cast long, golden shadows across the arena floor. Every pair of eyes in the crowd watched their next move. Elira adjusted her grip on the curved blade. She felt a thrill. This human surprised her. He fought like a dancer and a soldier at once. She knew she had to push harder. With a fierce battle cry, she launched herself forward. Harris met her charge. His short blade met her long one, sparks dancing where metal rang against metal. He felt the shock travel up his arm. He stepped back, then lunged forward with a quick strike to her thigh. Elira blocked with her forearm guard. The ring of metal echoed in the quiet arena. Elira pressed her advantage. She spun low, aiming a sweeping slash at Harris's legs. He jumped back, landing solidly on both feet. She followed with an overhead strike that cut the air above his head. Harris ducked, feeling the breeze of her blade close above him. They circled again, blades locked in a moment of stillness. Harris looked into Elira's fierce green eyes. He saw pride and challenge. He gripped his blade tighter and shifted his weight. Elira sensed his decision and tightened her stance. Without warning, Harris fainted high, then swept low. Elira reacted, jumping to avoid his blade. He rolled forward and came up behind her. He aimed a gentle tap at her back to score a point. But Elira spun, her armor making a soft swipe sound. She caught his blade with her curved weapon and forced it aside. Harris stumbled but regained balance quickly. He noticed that Elira now fought with equal respect. Her strikes were powerful but measured. She no longer sought to end the fight quickly. She wanted to test his limits. Harris backed up and drew a bead on her left arm. He eyed the small gap in her armor near the shoulder. He dashed forward, targeting that weak spot. Elira raised her blade to block. Their weapons clashed and vibrated for a long moment. Then Elira disengaged. She leaped back and landed lightly. Harris followed, never lowering his guard. Both fighters stood breathing hard. Elira spoke through gritted teeth. "Your courage matches your skill, human." Harris nodded, though his chest heaved with effort. He replied, "I learned from many battles." Elira's hand tightened on her hilt. She backed up 2 steps and then ran at Harris with full speed. Harris braced himself for the impact. They collided like 2 rams. Armor met armor. Both were pushed back a few feet. The ground shook under their feet. When they separated, Elira's helmet was slightly dented at the top. Harris's shoulder strap was torn. Neither showed pain. Instead, they smiled briefly at each other. The crowd roared in approval. Harris lowered his blade and offered a hand. Elira hesitated, then accepted it. He pulled her forward gently, and they touched foreheads in a gesture of honor. The crowd gasped at the unexpected move. Elira's face softened. Harris felt a strange warmth. This was more than a fight. It was a moment of unity. Elira stepped back and lifted her blade in salute. Harris did the same. The horn echoed again, signaling the end of the round. Both fighters sheathed their weapons. They stood side by side, chest to chest, breathing in sync. The crowd chanted their names together. Harris, Elira, Harris, Aelira. In that moment, their rivalry had grown into mutual respect. The next rounds promised even greater challenges, but in Part 4, they forged a bond that neither blade could break. Aelira and Harris stood in opposite corners as the announcer's horn sounded again. The afternoon sun beat down, making sweat bead on their brows. Both fighters felt the weight of the contest. Each knew the other's skill had grown sharper with every round. They readied themselves one more time. Aelira drew a small knife from her belt. Harris raised an eyebrow. She smiled and held the knife out. "No weapons," she said softly. Harris understood. They would fight on equal terms now. He dropped his short blade to the ground. Aelira did the same with her curved sword. The crowd murmured in surprise. A silent tension filled the arena. Aelira adopted a low stance, legs wide. Harris matched her position. They were unarmed now, relying only on their bodies and wits. Aelira's green eyes glittered with excitement. She trusted her strength and training. Harris felt the steady beat of his heart. He remembered his earth training. Fists first, mind always. Aelira struck first. She dashed forward and spun, aiming a punch at Harris's chest. Harris blocked with his forearm, absorbing the blow. He countered with a quick jab to her ribs. Aelira grunted but did not step back. Her pride would not let her yield ground. With a burst of speed, Aelira feinted left, then swung her leg in a roundhouse kick. Harris ducked under her leg and swept low. Aelira leaped over the sweep with ease. She landed directly behind him and clapped a firm hand on his shoulder. Harris twisted away and delivered an open palm strike to her back. Aelira gasped but held her posture. They separated by a few steps. Both breathed heavily. The crowd watched in awe as these two warriors tested themselves without weapons. Aelira's long silver hair was plastered to her neck with sweat. Harris's short hair stuck to his forehead. Neither fighter showed fear. Harris moved first. He lowered his stance and charged with a shoulder tackle. Aelira braced herself, then sidestepped at the last moment, letting him slide past. She turned and tried a quick elbow strike. Harris blocked and grabbed her arm. He twisted and attempted a wrist lock. Aelira used her free hand to push his wrist away. She spun free and delivered a sharp knee strike to his thigh. Harris winced, but kept his footing. They paused again, circling in a wide arc. The sun cast their long shadows on the stone. Silence fell over the arena. Aelira broke the quiet. "You fight with honor," she said, her voice low. Harris nodded. "I fight for my people," he replied. They both knew this test had become more than a fight. It was a demonstration of heart. Without another word, they lunged forward together. A flurry of strikes followed. Punches, kicks, blocks, and dodges. Each move was precise. Neither fighter landed a knockout blow. Instead, they flowed like water, matching each other's rhythm. The crowd cheered wildly at the display of skill. Finally, Aelira spun away and leaped high. Harris watched, then sprang up and grabbed her leg. He held on as they crashed to the ground. Both fighters lay side by side, gasping for breath. Dust filled the air around them. Aelira turned her head and smiled. "I yield," she whispered. Harris shook his head. "We both won today." He offered his hand. Aelira took it, and he helped her stand. The crowd erupted, chanting their names. In Part 5, the warrior princess and the human soldier proved that respect and unity can rise from competition. Their bond grew stronger, drawing both sides of the galaxy a step closer together. The crowd's cheers echoed off the arena walls as Aelira and Harris stood side by side. Their breaths came fast, chests rising and falling. Both were wet with sweat and dust. The sun beat down on them, but neither felt the heat. They felt only respect for one another. Aelira wiped her brow with the back of her hand. "Human," she said, her voice steady. "You have shown great skill and heart." Harris nodded, still catching his breath. "And you have shown honor and strength," he replied. Around them, the audience quieted, waiting to see what would come next. Suddenly, the announcer's horn blared again. Both fighters turned to face the center of the arena, where three armored officials approached. Their silver armor gleamed in the sunlight. One held a small banner with the emblem of the Therian clans. The lead official spoke. "Princess Elira," he said, bowing deeply. "By the right of this challenge, you have proven your worth, and you have honored the name of your people." He turned to Harris. "Captain Harris of Earth, you have done more than survive. You have proven humanity's valor." The crowd erupted in cheers once more. Harris and Elira exchanged surprised looks. Neither expected formal praise so soon. The official continued, "By tradition, the challenger and the champion must share a gift of respect." He handed Elira a small ornate box. She opened it to reveal a finely crafted medallion bearing both the Therian clan's crest and Earth's symbol. Elira held the medal to Harris. "This belongs to you, human," she said. "Wear it as a sign of our bond." Harris accepted it with both hands. He touched the medallion and felt its weight. "I am honored," he said softly. He fastened it to his chest. Then Elira removed the matching medallion from her belt. She held it out to Harris. "I wish to wear this," she said. "Let it remind me of Earth's courage." Harris smiled and pinned the medallion to her armor, just over her heart. The crowd roared their approval. As the officials stepped back, Elira and Harris turned toward the audience. They raised their joined hands high above their heads. Alien and human voices blended together in cheers and applause. Banners waved. Some aliens shouted in their own tongue, while others called out, "Harris, Elira, Harris, Elira." In that moment, something changed. The arena was no longer just a battlefield. It was a bridge between worlds. Elira and Harris looked at each other and nodded. They understood that their fight had become a symbol of unity. After the ceremony, guards escorted them off the arena floor. Backstage, Elira offered Harris a sip of water. He accepted, grateful. "Thank you," he said, "for everything." Elira smiled. "Thank you," she replied, "for teaching me that strength comes from respect." Outside the tunnel, the late afternoon sky blazed orange. Beyond the walls, ships from many worlds hovered in the sky. News of the match, of the human who stood toe-to-toe with an alien princess, would spread across galaxies. In this part, the ceremony cemented their bond. Their names would be spoken in every corner of the arena world. And though the contest was not yet over, both warriors felt that, together, they had won something greater than any victory: lasting honor and friendship. Evening shadows crept across the arena as Elira and Harris prepared for the next round. Both had grown tired, but neither showed it. Their faces were set with determination. The crowd settled in, eager for more of this epic contest. Elira adjusted her armor, the twin medallions resting over her heart. She thought of Earth's courage and felt a new strength. Harris checked his gear, running a hand over the medallion he wore. He thought of the princess's honor and felt pride. When the horn sounded, they stepped onto the arena floor together. The sun dipped low, painting the sky in deep reds and purples. Torches around the arena flickered to life, adding an orange glow to the scene. The mix of light and shadow made every movement look dramatic. Elira raised her curved blade. Harris unsheathed his short sword. For a moment, light gleamed off their weapons. Then they charged. This time, neither tried surprise. They met in the center, blades clashing in a shower of sparks. Elira struck first with a powerful overhead slash. Harris blocked and countered with a precise thrust. She sidestepped and kicked at his knee. He jumped back and rolled to the side. The crowd cheered every move. They fought with a mix of skill and respect. Elira used sweeping strikes, testing Harris's speed. Harris used quick jabs, testing her defense. Each time they clashed, they learned more about the other's style. Their moves became sharper, more fluid. Harris saw an opening when Elira overextended. He feinted, then aimed low toward her ankle. Elira twisted, avoiding the blade by an inch. She recovered quickly and struck his shoulder. He felt the impact but held firm. Elira backed up to catch her breath. Harris watched her, letting her have a moment. She gripped her blade tight and nodded. He nodded back. In their eyes, they shared understanding. Each would fight fair and strong. Elira advanced with renewed purpose. She swung her blade in a wide arc. Harris ducked and cut at her side. The blade scraped her armor, but did not break through. Elira spun and delivered a shoulder strike that pushed Harris off balance. He stumbled but did not fall. They paused again, blades crossed and pressed together. Sparks flew where the metal met. Both fighters leaned in, feeling each other's force. The crowd held its breath. Neither would yield. Then, in a sudden move, Harris used his free hand to tap Elira's back lightly. It was a gentle touch, not a strike. Elira's green eyes widened in surprise. She released her grip, and Harris' blade slid free. He took a step back, showing he meant no harm. Elira lowered her blade and smiled. "Clever," she said. Harris smiled back. "You taught me well," he replied. The crowd erupted in cheers, clapping for both warriors. The horn sounded, marking the end of the round. Elira and Harris sheathed their weapons and bowed to each other. Torches flickered as they walked off the arena floor, side by side. Backstage, attendants rushed forward with water and cloths. Elira and Harris took a moment to rest. They sat on a bench, sharing a drink in silence. No words were needed. Each knew the other had grown as a fighter and as a friend. In Part 7, the battle moved beyond mere competition. It became a dance of mutual respect, where victory meant understanding and strength meant unity. The night sky above the arena was studded with distant stars. Torches cast long, dancing shadows on the stone floor. Elira and Harris stepped into the center once more. Their bodies felt tired, but their spirits burned bright. The crowd buzzed with excitement, sensing the final rounds held the greatest tests. Elira rested her curved blade's tip on the ground. Harris balanced his short sword at his side. Neither spoke. Both drew strength from the silent bond they had built. Elira glanced at Harris and nodded. He returned the gesture. Then the horn sounded, starting the round. They moved at the same instant. Elira leaped forward with a high kick. Harris caught her leg under his arm. He held her firmly but gently, careful not to hurt her. Elira twisted in midair and landed behind him. She swung her blade in a low arc. Harris ducked under it, feeling the wind of the blade brush his hair. Harris stepped back and raised his sword to guard his chest. Elira circled him, looking for an opening. She feinted left, forcing Harris to shift his weight. Then she launched a swift strike toward his shoulder. Harris parried and countered with a quick thrust. Elira blocked and rolled to the side. They fought in a tight rhythm now. Each move led to another, like a flowing river. Elira spun, and Harris matched her spin with a precise slash. She felt the strike graze her armor. He felt the blade hum with energy. Neither winced. Harris spotted a chance. He plunged toward Elira, aiming his point at her chest. At the last moment, she ducked, and Harris' blade struck the ground with a loud clang. Elira kicked him lightly, sending him stumbling back. He recovered and raised his sword again. They paused, breathing hard. The crowd's cheers filled the air. Elira spoke, voice soft but firm. "This is our final test." Harris nodded, eyes steady. "Together, then," he said. With that, they charged as one. Elira's blade met Harris's sword midair. Sparks flew brighter than before. They pressed against each other, blades locked. Harris felt Elira's strength pushing against his. She felt his determination pushing back. Neither would relent. Elira twisted the hilt of her blade, loosening their lock. Harris seized the moment, stepping to her side and sweeping his sword across her front. She jumped backward, landing lightly, then lunged forward with renewed speed. Harris met her strike head-on, and their blades clashed in a burst of light. They separated, both holding their weapons high. Sweat dripped from their brows. Their breaths came in heavy gasps. They lowered their blades and studied each other. In their eyes shone mutual respect and understanding. Aelira sheathed her sword first. She held out her hand. Harris looked around the arena, saw the cheering crowd, then accepted her hand. He sheathed his sword and took her hand firmly. They raised their joined hands high. The horn sounded one last time, signaling the end of Part 8. Torches blazed, and the crowd rose to their feet, chanting both names together. Aelira and Harris bowed toward the audience, then toward each other. Backstage, attendants prepared for the closing ceremony. Aelira and Harris walked side by side, sharing a look of triumph. They had faced more than a battle. They had forged a friendship that would outshine any victory. In Part 8, their unity stood above all else, as two champions from different worlds learned to fight and win together. Late that night, Aelira and Harris walked through the silent streets of Corythia. Torchlight danced on smooth walls. The air smelled of cool stone. Every step echoed. Neither spoke at first. They both felt the bond they formed in the arena was only the start. Aelira broke the quiet. "Tomorrow, the High Council meets," she said. "They will decide if humans and Therian clans can stand together." Harris nodded. He felt both pride and worry. He knew not all aliens trusted humans. They entered the Grand Council Hall. Giant pillars rose to a high roof. Tapestries hung between them, showing ancient battles. At the far end, a long table of elders waited. Their robes were blue and silver. Some elders watched Aelira with pride. Others eyed Harris with doubt. The lead elder, Arbiter Solon, spoke first. Her voice was calm but firm. "Princess Aelira has honored our people. Captain Harris has proven Earth's courage. Yet many among us fear change. We must see their true hearts." She turned to Aelira. "Speak for your friend, warrior princess." Aelira stepped forward. Her voice rang clear in the hall. "These past days, Harris and I fought as enemies. Now we stand as allies. He showed respect for our customs. He showed strength and honor." She looked at Harris. "He is more than a warrior. He is a friend." Murmurs filled the hall. Some elders nodded. Others still looked uncertain. Solon held up her hand. "Captain Harris," she said, "you faced our greatest fighter and earned our respect. Yet can you prove humans share our values beyond combat?" Harris drew a deep breath. He thought of Earth's best traditions: courage, honor, and helping others. He spoke in clear, simple words. "On Earth, humans protect each other and those who need help. I fought for peace as much as for victory. I wish to build trust between our worlds. I offer my loyalty to Therian clans, and I ask for yours in return." Silence filled the hall. Then one elder, with silver hair braided over her shoulder, stood. "My people suffered when humans first arrived. But Captain Harris faced us without hate. His actions speak louder than words." She turned to the council. "I move that humans and Therian clans form an alliance." Another elder rose. "I second it." More voices joined. "I second it." Soon the hall rang with support. Even those who doubted felt moved by Harris's honesty and Aelira's faith in him. Arbiter Solon smiled. "Then it is decided." She raised her staff. "By the power of the High Council, we declare a new era of unity. Humans and Therian clans will stand as one." A chorus of cheers swept through the hall. In that moment, Aelira and Harris felt their bond change worlds. They had faced each other in combat, and now stood together in peace. Their names would be written in the history of both peoples. And though the final test waited in Part 10, this triumph in the council hall showed that respect and trust could conquer any fear. 2 seconds. The next morning, the skies above Corythia were clear. The suns rose slowly, bathing the arena in soft golden light. It was the day of the final ceremony. Aelira and Harris stood at the top of the great stairs, dressed not for battle, but for peace. Aelira wore royal armor polished to a silver shine. Her curved blade rested at her side. But today, it was only a symbol. Harris wore his Earth uniform, clean and neat, with the twin medallions pinned to his chest. They looked at each other and smiled. The arena was full again, but this time the crowd did not come to watch a fight. They came to witness a new beginning. Alien banners waved beside Earth flags. Even those who had once doubted now clapped and cheered. At the center of the arena stood a tall platform, decorated with symbols of both worlds. Aelira and Harris stepped up together. Arbiter Solon raised her voice. Today, we honor two warriors, not for defeating each other, but for showing us the true meaning of strength, unity, respect, trust. The crowd grew quiet as Solon held out a scroll. Let this treaty stand as a promise. Earth and the Therian clans shall walk side by side. We share knowledge, trade, and protection. She turned to Aelira. Do you accept this bond? Aelira nodded proudly. Yes, I offer my loyalty and friendship. Solon turned to Harris. And you, Captain Harris, do you speak for Earth? Harris stepped forward. Yes. On behalf of Earth, I accept this alliance. Let our worlds grow stronger together. The crowd cheered loudly, clapping and raising their hands. Trumpets played, and a group of alien children released bright, fluttering banners into the air. After the ceremony, Aelira and Harris walked side by side through the marketplace of the city. Aliens and humans greeted them with smiles. Vendors offered fruits and strange new dishes. Children from both worlds followed them, laughing and waving wooden swords in the air. Aelira looked at Harris and said softly, Do you remember the first time we met in the arena? Harris chuckled. Yes. You said I couldn't last a minute. Aelira laughed too. I was wrong. She paused and looked into his eyes. You didn't just last. You changed everything. Harris smiled. We both did. They stopped at a high terrace overlooking the valley. Ships from many planets flew overhead, and flags of Earth and the Therian clans danced together in the breeze. Aelira reached out her hand. Harris took it. This is just the beginning, she said. Yes, he replied. The beginning of something greater. As the sun set behind the mountains, their hands remained joined. Two warriors, once strangers, now symbols of peace. They had proven that understanding could be stronger than war, and that even across galaxies, a single act of respect could unite worlds. The story of Aelira and Harris would be told for generations. A tale not of victory in battle, but of victory in heart. And that made all the difference.